Hi guys, my name is Delta Miner, and today we're here to talk about Plant vs Zombies, a game in which you fend off the zombie horde by planting plants. Simple enough. The first plant you are given to plant in every game is the Peashooter, a straightforward straight shooting turret which fires peas at the enemy and pops off their head in 10 hits. Today we'll find out if this is possible in real life using math and physics. When we need to find the force of a pea projectile, we can use Isaac Newton's second law of motion, which states that the time rate of change of the momentum of a body is equal to both magnitude and direction of the force imposed on it. Or as is more well known, force equals mass times acceleration, or better yet, F equals AM, which stands for family. Which stands for I got you, fam! Which stands for frick, I am bad at jokes. Unfortunately, Plants vs Zombies denies the existence of air friction as well as the concept of acceleration as the peas move at a constant rate. But do not worry, as it is still possible to calculate the force of an object relying on only the speed of the object. Let's say we have a car of mass m moving at a constant speed v until it crashes into a wall and loses a portion of length L of its front during the collision, and we wish to find the force experienced by the car during the crash. The kinetic energy of the car is calculated by half its mass multiplied by its speed squared. Then we can find the force of its impact by dividing its kinetic energy during the impact by the length of the car which is lost, or really crumpled during the collision, to get force F of the collision. In cars, this portion which is lost is also called the crumple zone, which is designed to be crunchy and crumple during collisions. As when more of the car is crumpled, the larger the length L in the equation and the smaller the force F, such that the person within the car receives as little force and damage as possible. Now back to the P projectile. We can use the same equation to find the force of its impact as it comes to a complete stop when hitting the zombie, except this time the crumple zone will be the entire P, as we can assume the kinetic energy of the P is completely dissipated as the P splatters on the zombie. With the physics class out of the way, let's get to the measurements. The conehead zombie wears could be of a few possible heights, with 18 inches or 45 centimeters being the most likely. We can use pixel measurements to find the width of the P at approximately 28 centimeters or 11 inches, which can in turn be used to calculate the volume of the P using the equation for calculating the volume of a sphere, 4 over 3 pi r cubed. Assuming the P is a P in every way except size, it should have a bulk density of 567.77 kilograms per cubic meter, which multiplied by its volume gives a mass of 6.62 kilograms. We can also measure that the P travels at the speed of 3.87 meters per second, allowing us to calculate its kinetic energy to be 49.5 joules, and the amount of force it experiences on contact to be 176 newtons. Of course, referring to Newton's third law, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, also known as
you bite the fry bites back!
Hence, as the P experiences 176 newtons, so does its victim, i.e. the zombie, except here's the problem. The zombie wouldn't be much of a victim because, well, it is frankly impossible to do any damage with merely 176 newtons. While the zombies might be slightly decomposed from being undead, from the fact that their bodies are still intact rather than being bloated and red, the corpse can't have been 6 feet under for longer than a week, which means that the bones are very much still hard and intact as they take years to decompose. To fracture the neck like we see in the game, we will need at least 3000 newtons. Unfortunately, the Peashooter's peas are just too light and too slow, so rather than being an effective zombie killer, it'll be more of a minor inconvenience. But not to worry, because there's a sequel, Plants vs Zombies 2. We begin with Peashooter once again, and performing the same calculations on his shot, we end up with a projectile standing at a volume of approximately 5,330 cubic centimeters traveling at a speed of 4.2 meters per second, resulting in an impact force of 117 newtons. Yikes. The reduction in size really did the Peashooter dirty. Also, just a side note, in PvZ 2, the peas are shown to be ellipsoids rather than perfect spheres like in the first game, which may or may not be there to make them look faster, but I'm counting them as ellipsoids just to give them a chance. While the Peashooter seems to have been nerfed in the sequel, it's still not over yet because Plants vs Zombies 2 introduces the plant upgrading system. No doubt an attempt to make the game a gacha mine for the corporate overlords, which improves the Peashooter to be better, harder, bigger, faster, strong. Wait, hold on, I swear this isn't a euphemism. At level 20, the Peashooter shoots peas that deal 5 times its usual level 1 counterpart in terms of damage, but let's see if it holds up mathematically. The pea is slightly over 30,800 cubic centimeters, making it 3 times larger than in the first game, and travels at 9.2 meters per second, or twice as fast as before, resulting in an impact force of 14,014 newtons, which is, well, unfortunately not enough to break your spine in one hit, but it might break your nose, and maybe with enough hits, it can do enough damage. If anything, the upgraded P at most can only do as much as the level 1 variant is supposed to, which by the way is still much weaker than a punch by an amateur boxer being 2500 newtons. Conclusion, Peashooters really aren't the suitable defense go-to in a zombie apocalypse. But it is a good food source and one, as Peashooters fire about every 1.4 seconds. A Peashooter firing non-stop will produce well over 400,000 kilograms of feast per day, which is equivalent to over 330 million calories, sufficient to feed over 130,000 people. Green peas are incredibly nutritious and can provide you with almost any vitamin and mineral except for vitamin B12, vitamin D, and of course sodium and fats, which you still need a little of every day. So if you're in a zombie apocalypse with a Peashooter, it might not be able to protect you from the zombies, but it will definitely be able to feed you more than you need. Just pack some fish oil supplements for the long run. Also, the Peashooter wasn't made for shooting, they were made for eating.